Hey, tracking video inbound. Okay, just be aware. I'm recording this after I actually made the video. Just be aware it's a hodgepodge. It is a whole bunch of stuff in a very disorganized manner, and I think there's a couple of lessons in that. So if you're interested in tracking, hang with it, because there is a crap ton of information right here that I'm getting ready to drop. Good morning. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, you all. Oh my gosh. Tracker. Wild and crazy as usual. Let's do some tracking. All right. Barn looks good back there in the background, don't it? Let's talk about tracking in general, and then we'll get to looking at some individual tracks, and we'll look at some gait patterns and track lines. I'm on about 3 right now. So it's not going to be hard to find them. First things first, when you're going into an environment, it would be helpful to know what kind of animals are likely to be there. So I'm in central Kentucky, farmland. Never step on the track line, you all. Always step next to it. I'm gonna stay right here because I don't want to mouse. Got 3 different things I can show right here. Open farmland, roads really about 200 meters that way. I'm not far from the road. Walking into a wilderness, because I'm particularly familiar with this wilderness, I know that there's a good several hundred, if not several thousand acres right in this area, with houses intermingled in it, farms and what have you. There's no large development here or anything of that nature. So what kind of things do you think I'm gonna run into? Deer, yeah, squirrels, rabbits, bobcats in an area where there's not a lot of human encroachment is a possibility. Coyotes. You could find all of those in suburban neighborhoods as well, but very likely to find them in this environment because they'll thrive here more than they will in a urban or suburban environment. Okay, so that's first thing, is knowing what could likely be here. So let's get on one of these deer tracks. Let me show you some things about it. The hard part for me is this knucklehead right here messing up the track line, so I'll try to keep him off of it, because we got some things here that you don't get to see normally with deer tracks. Check it out. All right, so going right up through there are deer tracks. I'm gonna get right on top of them. So what we have here, let me see if I can get these 2 right here. Yeah, this will be good. So what you have right here is a left front and a left rear, and then what you got right there, or what you have right there, is a right front and a right rear. This is what we call direct register. So as the deer's walking up through here, it'll put its left foot down here, left front foot down here, and then when it brings up the left rear, it'll place it directly on top of it. So if you're not used to looking at them, this looks like 1 track, but it's actually 2. Now, there's something here that we don't get to see a lot. Tracker, stop it. Get over here. Come on, pup. Over here. Come here, buddy. Good boy. Sit down. Good boy. You stay there. So you've got the toes. That's the 2 front pieces. And these 2 little dots in the back are dew claws. And because we're seeing that because the snow is deep and it's soft, and as the deer walks through here, you can see that on all of these. Let me talk about that. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and talk and walk on until we find something else about those deer tracks. So if you need to look at them, then just go back to the video before. Direct register, left foot, left front foot goes down, and when the left rear foot comes up, it steps on top of it. Dew claws is one of those things that you'll see or hear a lot of people that just haven't spent much time tracking, it's one of those things that's been said for years. It's just wrong. That's a big buck because it pushes the pressure down more because it's heavy. And that's just one of them things that's said that's just wrong. It's unfortunate, but it's wrong. If the strata, whatever is on the ground, is soft enough, a 50-pound fawn will put its dew claws in there as well. So, got something else to show you with deer tracks. So dew claws just show up because the mud is softer, the snow is softer, and the animal goes down into it deeper. Let me turn this around. I'll show you these deer tracks here. Now check these deer tracks out. What you're seeing here is an animal that is not picking its feet way up and stepping, like high stepping, if you will. That's a toe drag. So if you look closely, you can see that these animals are going opposite direction I'm walking. So I'm walking. If they had been walking here, I'd be walking right into them face to face here. So let's take a look at this. This is a good little deer thing. All right, so I've got something else here. Let's take a look at it real quick. So this is where we just were. You've got all these deer tracks going that direction. And then you see what look like from this distance. Tracker, sit down. Sit. Good boy. Stay. Good boy, puppy. You're doing good, buddy. You're doing real good. Stay. You've got these tracks that are going this direction, okay? From a distance, they kind of look like deer tracks, okay? But let's take a closer look. Tracker, sit, stay. I know you're excited. This right here, again, from a distance, it looks like the toes of a deer, right? And this is where I'm an advantage and you're not, because I'm here and you're not. But this is where a squirrel has come through here. Let me look closely. It might be a rabbit. No, it's a squirrel. Okay, and the reason I know it's a squirrel is because squirrel will often show their claws a whole lot more easily, and you can see the claw marks right inside of there. You can see where the animal stopped and dug right inside there. Now, there's been a lot. Come up. You're a good boy. You're a good boy. You did good on that. There's a lot that's been written on, like, canines' ability, particularly domestic dogs, to find their way home if they're lost or what have you. There's not as much that's been written. Golly, there's so much tracking information here. Ran into another one. This is going to be a hodgepodge of stuff like this. This is what it's like tracking. So let me talk about that, okay? So today what I'm doing is I'm going out and I'm just, let's say I'm just casting. I'm just like I'm fishing. I'm just casting for tracks. I'm going to go into a bunch of different spots and look for tracks. And I'm familiar with this area, so I know where to go find tracks in this area, okay? So that's part of a cheat for me to help you all. But if I was going into a place new, I would walk like I'm walking like on the edge where forested habitat turns into open habitat and look for sign, because that's a real prominent place. Plus you can see trails going in and out because animals like to travel between these areas because it offers a diversification of food sources and stuff of that nature. So what's also going on here is for me and you today, it's going to seem like a hodgepodge of stuff. I'm going to bounce around and just show you stuff that I'm seeing. What I personally like to do is I will come out and find a animal and then I will track that animal. It's what we call micro tracking, step by step. And that is from my perspective. And I've been tracking my whole life, but I just, man, quite frankly, I just don't feel like I've got it yet. I don't know that I ever will. I'll probably die and never have and be good at tracking. It's just a continual growth process, okay? But Micro tracking, step-by-step method is, in my opinion, the best method for training. That helps you get more eyes on more tracks and see more things. And that way, when you have to track in a hunting situation, in a fugitive apprehension situation, then you can move on sign in a quicker fashion. But step-by-step is the best training method. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit a bunch of different tracks today and see what it leads to. All right, so again, walking down through here, and then you come across this. Get in close. Tracker's getting ready to find it too and check it out. He's good for finding this stuff when the snow's not on for me. He's in the middle. He smells the urine from this animal right here, and he's trying to figure it out and where it's gone to. So if you have a dog with you and they pause and they're sniffing around, oftentimes what they're smelling is urine of another animal, whether you can see the urine or not from that animal. So that's an advantage for you to be hiking with your dog. At the same time, just depending on where you are, sometimes that's not legal. You got to keep your dog on a leash. Somebody remarked the other day that I wasn't paying attention to Tracker as I was doing video, and I'm not. Okay, and here's why. And this is one of the beauties of having an Australian Shepherd, is that they are very loyal dogs and they're herders, and they like to keep everybody together. So he's going to go out and play like he is, but he won't roam very far at all, and he'll just come right back to me. So I mean, it's just natural for him to want to stay with me. I don't have a beagle. If I had a beagle out here, I'd have to keep an eye on him the whole time. I couldn't let him run. He'd just take off on a rabbit trail, right? So that's one way you can use your dog. So what I'm looking at now are more deer tracks. Here's a good one. We got us a real good squirrel track here. So you'll see this often, okay? So we've got us a red oak over there, the bigger tree that you can see. And let me step over this track line and not step on it. This is pretty common, you all. You can see, you can't see where the squirrel came down the tree, right? But right here, all of a sudden in the middle of nowhere, you've got tracks, okay? So you got the same thing here. You got another one up there. Now you can't see those, but here's what's happening. Squirrel comes down the tree, and you've watched squirrels jump and run, and it hops from there to there. Then it looked like it hit right in here. Then it looked like it hit this tree, and then it dropped down. Now I can get on it a little bit easier. That looks like, think about it, it looks like a big, huge deer track, doesn't it? But what we've got is a squirrel. And for some reason, right here, it turned around. This might be a different squirrel too, because we've got two sets of squirrel tracks meeting up in the middle. So go back and watch that video if you want to look at those individual tracks. But here's what happens. Direct register, canines walk like that. That's dogs and coyotes, cats, bobcats, domestic cats, humans. Squirrels are hoppers. Got more here. Daggone, there's so many tracks here. It's insane. I don't even know what that is yet. Okay. All right, so let's talk about that squirrel track we were just looking at. That set of tracks. When they jump, let's imagine this is their front feet and this is their back feet, and this is hard for me to do holding the camera at the same time. Their front feet will hit, and then their back feet will come up, hit in front, push off, and then when they land with their front feet. So that's a hopper. That's squirrels. That's rabbits, obviously. Trying to get down here without falling. And so when they stop though, they'll put their back feet down, rest on their back feet, and the front feet will be resting in front. So you can see the dwell time. You can see where the animal has gone, and then it stops, looks around, does something, and it moves on. And so what you're looking through the gait pattern, through the locomotion of that animal, is basically the large back feet in front, when actually what's hitting first is the front feet. So now that we've got down in here, check this out. See that big tree right there? I don't know if you can see it just on the other side of where Tracker just was. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 squirrels coming off of that tree. Probably the same one, but they're just coming off of it. Let me turn it around. I told you this is going to be a hodgepodge of stuff, you all. So there's one, there's one, there's one. That's where the squirrel is walking up underneath the brush. There's another one, there's another one, and there's another one over there on the backside. What was that? Was that an alien? Was that a bird? No, it was actually snow falling off the branches above it. So a lot of people see snow will fall off, and it'll fall off usually in these little straight line patterns. Make a straight line down in the snow as it falls. And I got one right here, it's perfect. Let me turn around, I'll show you what I mean. So again, nothing, 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 and then you have this. That's where snow has fallen off of a tree above and made an indentation in the snow. Tracking is the presence of the abnormal or the absence of the normal. You got to pay attention to both. All right. Told you all. Tracker, sit. We got something important, puppy. Sit, sit. Thank you. Good boy. Sweet. Let me investigate this a second. I think it's a bobcat. Yeah, we got us a bobcat. All right, so don't get to see these often. Looks like it came down through there and it's coming right through there, okay? Here's the tracks that I came across because I was getting ready to step right on top of them. You've got these two right here, and then you got what looks like, check this out, what looks like a big old huge rabbit. Then you got Tracker laying on the track line, but looking down in here, here's what we're looking for on the cat tracks. 4 toes. The index toe will be forward. Think about your index finger. That's what you would call the index toe. That's what you would call the index toe of a cat. So if this is my right hand, this is my index finger, that's the index toe. That's usually going to be slightly forward of the other toe that's in front. You got 2 toes in front, 2 off to the side. Rarely do you see tracks in cat tracks. If you were to draw an outline around the circle or around the track, it would look like a circle, not an oval. Dog tracks look like an oval. If you draw an X, I've got a sketch of this, and I'll try to find it and include the sketch in this video while I'm talking. But if you had a sketch, I mean, if you could draw a line between the tracks, then you could draw an X on the inside of the track of a cat track, and it would cross either a toe or it'd cross the heel pad. It would be impossible to put the X in there without touching a toe or the heel pad. Dogs, which are often confused for cats, are 4 toes. Index toes not like that. The 2 toes up front are on the same level. And then you have claw marks are typically indicated in canine tracks. you can draw an X. And then let's talk about the heel pad. Heel pad on a dog. 1 bump on the front portion of the heel pad, 2 on the back. On cats, there's usually 2 bumps on the front portion of the heel pad and 3 bumps on the back. So that's how you start to distinguish between canines and felines. Deer tracks everywhere, you all. Right here, there's deer tracks everywhere. Let me point something out to you. So, if you can see, there's tracks running right up along. This is what I try to tell people all the time, but this just gives a visual to prove that I'm right. So, yay for Craig. Craig knows what he's talking about. Animals love to walk along where environments change. So, a lot of these tracks are right here, walking right along this edge. Now, check out this cedar tree. See how much snow is still on that tree, holding a lot of snow? If we walked up underneath that tree, the snow is much less deep there. It's very shallow there because a lot of the snow was shed off by the tree. What you'll find here is you'll find a lot of deer tracks. I mean, a ton of deer tracks. Let me turn this around. Look at all these deer tracks in here, you all. These are all deer tracks. All of them. Well, tracker's been through there once, maybe. But these are all deer tracks in here. How come? Well, because they got out of the weather for a little bit. And they all come through here. And so they will all stop in there. And here's what is advantageous for knowing that. And that is, they do that all the time, even when there's not snow on the ground. The behaviors that we're pointing out today and some of the things that you're seeing are not unlike what they do all the time. And so getting out and tracking in the snow will get you eyes on a bunch of tracks, see some of the behaviors of a particular piece of property, and then use that information later for whatever your purposes are. You just want to get eyes on, you want to set a stand up or what have you. So that's why I don't know any tracker that really enjoys tracking that can't just get out when it snows. They've got to. It's almost like a drug. So some useful stuff there from a practical standpoint. All right, we got something cool here. Hang on. All right, so what we've got, check this out. This is so cool. All right, you've got something. Let's just say it's something right now, okay? You got something that's walking up through here. Tracker, sit down. Stay. Good boy. You're doing so good, Tracker. You've got a set of tracks coming up through here. That's a Tracker. I told you to sit. Stay. Good boy. You've got another set right over here that are coming up through here. Guess what they're getting ready to do? They converge and they get right here and have some sort of wrestling match for a short while, and then they move on. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I don't know what that is. I hope that encourages you to get out and track. Because I think one of the things that happens is that we watch trackers and stuff of that nature on TV, movies. We hear stories about different famous trackers, and we think that trackers are otherworldly figures that see the ground, read it like a book, and then move on. Don't get me wrong, there's some people that can do that. I'm not saying I'm one of them. I spend a lot of time tracking and I know a lot of information, but one of the things that every tracker I know particularly every tracking instructor that I know will say at some point in time, is that there comes a time where you're looking at something and you just don't know. Okay? So let's talk about it from a strategic perspective on continuing your training. So here's what I could do. I wanted to show you a bunch of different things today. There's two things that I would normally do if I was out here by myself. First, when I came across that bobcat, I would have tracked that bobcat out. I would have kept following, see where, I would basically go backwards on the track line, see where it came from, and then follow it and track it until I went and discovered where it went to. I've done that numerous times and found bobcats in trees, in brush piles, in old stumps where dirt is overgrown. There's a den in there. Most bobcats, from what I understand from studying mammal behavior, really like cliff lines and stuff like that. Grouse hunting in the Danube National Forest, I've seen a lot of tracks along cliff lines, along ridge tops in the Daniel Boone for years. But secondly, what I wanted to get out is that if I hadn't found those bobcat tracks, when I found those two that I didn't immediately know what they are, I would track all that out and try to figure out and basically play detective and determine what happened there. So you can do it both ways. You can spend a lot of time going a far distance, or you can spend a fair amount of time on a short distance. You don't have to go out and go really far. It's totally up to you. That's one of the things that I love about tracking as a way of getting people outdoors is it's, tracker, what are you doing? What do you got? What do you have? What is it? All right, good boy. That's fine. You can play with that. Good boy. You're good. It's really up to you. I think it's a practice that will get you more in tune to the outdoors, and you can use it for whatever you want to use it for. Meaning, I'm a nature lover and I want to get out and spend more time and understand what's going on around me, or I'm a hunter, or I'm a survivalist, or bushcrafter, or whatever. Tracking is a way to do it. Here's the problem, and it's a serious problem. It takes a lot of time and effort to be adequate at doing it. That's why I spend time every day doing something that has something to do with tracking. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm out here tracking actually on a track line. Sometimes that means I just read a book. But I will try to do something every day as a tracker to enhance and build and grow my skill set. So I think what we've got here is a hodgepodge of stuff, and it's going to actually be hard to follow. So I'll go ahead and stop it from there. I think I've given you some ideas, and I wanted to demonstrate a couple of things. One, just have fun with it, you all. It can be that. It can be a hodgepodge. Hey, look, there's some deer tracks. Oh, there's some cat tracks. There's coyote track. There's a squirrel. And just have fun with it. It's definitely a reason to get you outside, and I hope that I've encouraged you to do that and tried to show you that you don't have to be some super technical, fantastic tracker. Just be an enthusiast of the outdoors and get out and enjoy yourself. Let's go find one more, and then we'll be done. Squirrel, stand by. Walnut tree. Came down the walnut tree, jumped down inside there, jumped again, and then jumped again, and jumped again. So we can track this little dude out. Again, here's the back feet that are hitting in front of the front feet. Here's the two front feet. They hit first, and then the back feet come up. Comes up again, and then he got on this poplar tree and went up and went somewhere else. This is actually fresh, which we haven't talked much about is track aging, because it's another topic in and of itself. But in this particular case with the snow, the sides of the track are well, there's a degradation of the track over time, okay? But you can see, let me turn this around. It's harder to, it's easier to show it. See all these piles of snow just outside the track? Over the time that happens throughout this day, those will degrade and basically melt back into, even just with sunlight on them, they'll degrade and go back into the snowpack around it. But right now, everything around it as if it was just made, because that critter probably came down that tree about the time Tracker and I came down through here. So that's part of the reason we're seeing it. I guess we could track Tracker. So there's Tracker up ahead of me. Here's where he was walking direct register. Again, there's two tracks here. There's two tracks there and there and there and there and all the way up through there. But here's something we can sit here and watch him. Good boy. Let's watch him walk. There's some things that you should note about a domestic dog versus a coyote. Watch him. See how he's wandering? He'll go off trail and come back up. That's a lot of puppy in him, okay? There's a whole lot of puppy. All right, we got a rabbit here. That'll give us an opportunity to look at it too. But coyotes usually don't expend that much energy. They'll come, if they were coming down this road, which is not uncommon, they'll come down here and there's a spot, well, back there where we saw that squirrel. Stand by. Back there where we saw that squirrel, which is right back there where this road opens up into a field. That's a spot where coyotes, and there's another one right over there on the other side. This is a spot where coyotes, it's kind of like a territorial thing. They'll poop on trails and roads and stuff as a show of, hey, this is my spot. So, but if they were traveling down this road, they would travel more straight line instead of a lot of wandering like you'll see a domestic dog do in their track line. So that's another way that you can look at tracks. And even though, yeah, it's pretty obvious it's a canine, it's got 4 toes, it's got claws, you can make the X, toes up front are even, heel pad, 1 bump in the front, 2 bumps in the back, kind of thing. Yep, that's a canine. Now, is that a domestic dog, or is that a wild animal, feral dog? So that's one way you can tell. Let's look at this rabbit, and then I'm gonna tell you a story about Taco Bell. Bunny rabbit. Not moving very fast here, okay? You can see that his back feet and his front feet are pretty much together. And he accelerates here, watch him. He starts to pick up speed because now there's more distance between them, even more distance, and then even the groupings of tracks start to spread out further and further down the road. So what we know is somewhere right in here. Try to find where he came out of the woods here. Yeah, he came out of the woods right here. Right there, you can see where he came out of the woods. And then he came to where I was just showing you. Stopped, looked around in the opening, and then not necessarily took off running because he was scared or anything. Could have been. But he did start to accelerate. And here he is coming back. Now we got the rabbit moving up this direction. Just another indicator, you all. Golly. It absolutely blows my mind. I want everybody to be a tracker. So I got a story for you. Taco Bell, baby. A couple years ago, I came on this farm, and that's when I was rucking with a big heavy pack, like 40-pound pack every day. And it was valuable training, but I ended up hurting my back. So I had to back off that. Not that I still do that on occasion, I just don't do it every day. But anyway, I kept noticing these little bitty canine tracks way back. I'm talking, you see behind me? I'm talking a mile back in there somewhere. I kept running across these little bitty canine tracks. Little bitty, I'm sorry, I just can't stop tracking you all. I've got in the mood in tracking mode, so I'll stop, finish the story. Little bitty canine tracks. I tracked them. There's a little muddy area on the road back there where I was, and it's what trackers like to refer to as a track trap, meaning it's an area where when you're tracking that it's common to find tracks. And so I would make it a point to always go by that and see if I could see fresh little baby canine. I was thinking I was looking at a baby coyote, okay? And so there was a time I went through there 2 or 3 times, and it looked like these baby coyotes had been through there. Oh my gosh. It looked like these baby coyotes had been through there 20 times in a day one time. So I'm thinking, I'm looking at trying to decipher how many baby little coyote pups there are. And because I found a large canine track and it was a coyote. We'll talk about that another day. But I knew it was coyote, and I'm thinking that's mama, and she's moving the pups here and there. So this went on for a couple weeks. And then one day I had some time where I could dedicate some time to tracking. Like, all right, I'm gonna go out there and find them. Right, I'm just gonna do it today. I'm going to track them. I'm gonna spend the day tracking if I have to. Took a lunch, everything. Plan on spending the day tracking these little guys. So I get to tracking them, find one, and I get to tracking it down through the woods. And a lot of things are going through my head. Are the other ones gone? Have they been killed? Did something predate them? You know, an owl, red-tailed hawk, Cooper's hawk, they're common here. And all that's running through my head. And I'm on this little guy all by himself. No adult tracks around, nothing. And I'm looking at a track right in front of me. This is me looking down on the track line, okay? This is funny. I'm on it, man, and I'm like, he's right in front of me. He went through a puddle, and there were splashes of water that were up on the sides of the track, which means, pow, he had just hit. The water had not even had time to dissipate down into the earth, so that is an aging sign, right? I'm on it. I mean, right in front of me. So when that thought hit my head, I looked up, and when I looked up, right in front of me is a little chihuahua. I mean, out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, what's the lesson to be learned? Well, I've been tracking a chihuahua. I'd gotten away from somebody's home, been running around back in there forever, made a bunch of tracks. I made the assumption, because I was so far off the road, that the only canine that would be back there would be coyote pups. Can't make those assumptions when you're tracking. You've just got to be open and let the tracks be what they are. So, good lesson for me. I was able to catch the little guy. He came to me, actually, and get him back to his owner. But cool story, bro. Yeah, it's a cool story, punk. But yeah, I illustrate that, or tell you that point to illustrate this. You just got to get out, spend more time, and you'll learn a lot about tracking animals that you're tracking. But here's what you're going to learn as much as anything else. You're going to learn so much about yourself. And I guarantee you, if you're looking for a self-help, self-improvement, and be self-reliant and make yourself a better person, spend some time tracking. It will teach you how to humble yourself and allow things to be what they are and work within those constraints instead of forcing your own ideas on the track. All right, so I know, been a hodgepodge of stuff. Thanks for joining me. Come on, join in. Let's learn together.